The rain fell softly outside the hospital window. Drops of water slid slowly down the glass, like silent tears, blurring the lights of the city beyond. Inside room 307, the sound of heart monitors filled the air with a cold rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. Ethan Parker sat quietly on the hospital bed, staring outside. He was only 22 years old, too young to understand why life could be so cruel, too young to already know the feeling of dying. A thin blanket covered his weak body. His once athletic figure had become fragile after months of chemotherapy. Dark circles rested under his tired eyes, and his pale hands trembled slightly whenever he moved. But the hardest part wasn't the pain. It was loneliness. His friends slowly stopped visiting after the first few months. Some became too busy. Others simply didn't know what to say anymore. Even his girlfriend left. Not because she was evil, because some people are afraid of watching someone disappear. Ethan understood that. Still, it hurt. Very deeply. Every day felt the same. Medicine. Silence. Rain. And the terrifying thought that maybe he would never leave this room alive. The doctors called it Stage 4 Leukemia. Advanced. Aggressive. Almost impossible to
Real life. She smiled immediately. "Good morning, room 307. Ethan didn't answer. She walked toward him, holding medicine. "You know," she said softly, "this room is famous." Ethan looked confused. "Famous?" "Yes. But why?" "Because it has the best window in the hospital." For the first time in days, Ethan almost smiled. Almost. The nurse extended her hand. "I'm Lily." "Ethan." "Nice to meet you, Ethan." Her voice felt warm, like sunlight during winter. Lily became Ethan's assigned nurse after that day. And somehow, the room slowly began to feel less empty. Every morning, she entered with energy that seemed impossible inside a hospital. She talked too much, about random things. Terrible cafeteria food, funny patients, the old cat that lived behind the hospital parking lot, even silly stories from her childhood. At first, Ethan
A couple is arguing beside a taxi. Ethan listened quietly every time. Not because the stories were important, but because her voice made him feel alive. One evening, the power suddenly went out during a storm. The hospital hallway became dark. Only lightning illuminated the room through the window. Ethan looked nervous. Lily noticed immediately. "You afraid of storms?" she teased softly. "No." "You're lying?" "Maybe a little." She smiled gently and sat beside him. "When I was little," Lily whispered, "I used to count seconds between lightning and thunder." "Why?" "My mom said it made storms less scary." Another flash lit the room. Ethan looked at her carefully. "What happened to your mom?" For the first time, Lily became quiet. "She died when I was 16. Ethan's expression softened instantly. "I'm sorry." "She had cancer." Silence filled the room. The storm outside grew louder. Lily stared toward the rain-covered window. "That's why I became a nurse," she said softly. Ethan didn't know what to say, so instead he whispered, "She'd be proud of you." Lily smiled sadly. "Maybe." That night changed something between them. After that, their conversations became deeper, more honest. They stopped pretending. Ethan admitted he was terrified of dying. Lily admitted she was terrified of losing people. One night, Ethan asked quietly, "Do you think people disappear after death?" Lily looked at him carefully before answering. "I think love stays." Weeks later, Ethan's condition worsened. The treatment stopped working properly. His body became weaker every day. Some mornings, he couldn't even stand. But Lily still entered room 307 with the same smile, even when her eyes looked tired, even when she secretly cried in empty hallways. One evening, Ethan woke up suddenly from a nightmare. His breathing became heavy. Machines started beeping rapidly. Within seconds, nurses rushed inside. Doctors followed. Everything became chaos. "Ethan, stay with us. We need oxygen. Heart rate dropping." Through blurry vision, Ethan saw Lily pushing through the crowd. Her face looked terrified. And in that moment, he realized something painful. She cared about him, not as a patient, as Ethan. Hours later, the emergency finally ended. The room became quiet again. Lily sat beside his bed after everyone left. Her eyes were red. "You scared me," she whispered. Ethan looked at her weakly. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize for something you can't control." A long silence followed. Then Ethan asked quietly, "Why do you care so much?" Lily lowered her head because she didn't know how to answer honestly. The truth was terrifying. Somewhere between coffee cups, hospital windows, late-night conversations.
Christmas arrived quietly. The hospital tried decorating the hallways with lights and small plastic trees, but sadness still lingered everywhere. Sick people don't stop suffering just because it's Christmas. That morning, Lily entered Ethan's room holding a small box. "What's that?" Ethan asked. "A gift." "You didn't have to buy me anything." "I know." He opened it carefully. Inside was a tiny snow globe. A little wooden bench stood inside, beneath falling fake snow. Ethan smiled softly. "It's beautiful." Lily looked nervous suddenly. "Shake it." He did. White snow swirled everywhere inside the glass. Ethan watched silently, then noticed words carved at the bottom. "For the days you forget how beautiful life is." His eyes slowly filled with tears. Nobody had given him something so thoughtful in years. "Thank you," he whispered. Lily smiled softly. "Merry Christmas, Ethan." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The pain. Days later, Ethan learned terrible news. He accidentally overheard two doctors speaking outside his room. The treatments failed. Maybe a few weeks left. We should prepare the family. A few weeks. That was all. Ethan felt the world collapse silently inside him. When Lily entered later, she immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" Ethan looked away. "How long do I have?" Her face froze. Silence answered him before words did. Ethan laughed weakly. "I knew it." Lily sat beside him quickly. "Ethan, I'm dying." Tears filled her eyes instantly. "No." "Yes." His voice cracked painfully. "I'm trying so hard not to be afraid." Lily couldn't stop crying anymore, so Ethan gently whispered, "Hey." She looked at him. "Come here." Slowly, Lily leaned closer, and Ethan wrapped his weak arms around her. For the first time since childhood, Lily cried in someone's embrace. "I don't want you to go," she whispered brokenly. After that night, everything changed. They stopped hiding their feelings. Lily spent every possible moment beside him. Sometimes they simply sat quietly together, watching sunsets through the hospital window. Sometimes they talked for hours about dreams they would never reach. Ethan once asked, "If I survived, what would we do first?" Lily smiled sadly. "We'd leave this hospital immediately. Then, we'd drive somewhere far away." "Where?" "Anywhere with ocean waves." Ethan laughed softly.
You really like the ocean. I do. Why? Because the ocean sounds eternal. Ethan stared at her carefully. You know what's scary? What? I'm starting to wish for a future again. Lily's eyes filled with tears, because she wished for that future too, even if it was impossible. One afternoon, Lily took Ethan to the rooftop garden in a wheelchair. Fresh snow covered everything. The city looked beautiful below them. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling cold wind against his face. I forgot what fresh air felt like, he whispered. Lily smiled softly. See? The world still needs you. He looked at her. No, you're the reason this world still feels beautiful. Her breath caught. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lily slowly leaned down. A week later, Ethan collapsed again. This time was worse, much worse. Doctors worked desperately through the night. Lily stood outside the room trembling helplessly. She had seen death many times before, but never like this. Never someone she loved. At 3:17 a.m., the doctor finally stepped outside slowly. Lily looked at him with terrified eyes. He's stable for now, the doctor said quietly. For now. Those words destroyed her. When Lily entered the room, Ethan looked unbelievably weak. Machines surrounded him. His breathing was shallow. Still, he smiled faintly when he saw her. You look awful, he whispered. Lily burst into tears instantly. I hate you. He laughed weakly. No, you don't. She held his hand carefully. I'm not ready. Ethan stared at the ceiling quietly. Neither am I. Silence filled the room again. Then Ethan whispered something so softly she almost missed it. Will you stay until I fall asleep? Lily.
The next few days became precious. Every second mattered now. They talked more, laughed more, cried more, loved more. Because both of them understood something heartbreaking. Time was running out. One evening, Ethan handed Lily an envelope. What's this? A letter. Why are you giving me a letter while you're still alive? Because some words are easier written. Lily held it carefully. Can I read it now? Ethan nodded. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, the paper read, Dear Lily, before meeting you, I thought hospitals were places where people came to disappear. But then you walked into room 307 with messy hair and terrible jokes. And somehow, you made this place feel alive. You made me laugh when I wanted to give up. You held my hand when I was afraid. You looked at me like I was more than a dying boy. I don't know how much time I have left, but I need you to know something. Falling in love with you was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me.
3 days later, the rain returned. Heavy, cold, relentless. Ethan lay quietly in bed, staring out the window. His breathing had become slower now, weaker. Lily sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. Neither of them spoke much anymore. Some silences say everything already. After a while, Ethan whispered softly. Lily? What's outside today? She looked through the rain-covered glass. The city lights are blurry. He smiled faintly. What else? There's a little boy jumping in puddles. Ethan closed his eyes, imagining it. And a couple sharing one umbrella. His fingers tightened around hers slightly. And the sky. Lily looked upward. Gray. Ethan nodded weakly. Sounds beautiful. Tears rolled silently down Lily's face.
Then Ethan whispered one final request. "Can you open the window? It's freezing. Please." Slowly, Lily opened it slightly. Cold, rain-scented air entered the room. Ethan breathed deeply. A peaceful smile touched his lips. "It smells like life," he whispered. Lily broke down crying. "Please don't leave me." Ethan looked at her with exhausted, loving eyes. "I think some people are meant to stay forever. And some people," he continued softly, "are only meant to teach us how beautiful life can be before they go." Lily shook her head desperately.
No. But Ethan's eyes slowly drifted back toward the rain outside. The hospital window. Their window. The place where loneliness became love, where fear became hope, where a dying boy learned that even the shortest lives can still hold infinite love. Ethan's breathing slowed. Once. Twice. Then, silence. The monitor beside him released one long, continuous sound. Lily froze completely. The world stopped moving. Rain continued falling outside. Cars still moved through the city. People still laughed somewhere. But inside room 307, everything shattered. Weeks passed, then months. Life continued, even when Lily wished it wouldn't. She still worked at the hospital, still walked past room 307 sometimes. But nobody stayed there very long anymore. To everyone else, it was just another room. But to Lily, it held an entire universe of memories. One rainy evening after work, Lily sat alone beside the hospital window. The same window. She held Ethan's snow globe carefully in her hands. Outside, rain covered the city lights exactly like before. Then suddenly, she noticed a little boy outside jumping happily in puddles. Nearby, a couple shared one umbrella. And above them all, the gray sky stretched endlessly. Lily's breath caught painfully. The exact same things she described on Ethan's last day. Tears slowly filled her eyes. But this time, she smiled too. Because somewhere deep inside her heart, Ethan still existed. In rainstorms, in windows. Weeks passed, then months. Life continued, even when Lily wished it wouldn't. She still worked at the hospital, still walked past room 307 sometimes. But nobody stayed there very long anymore. To everyone else, it was just another room. But to Lily, it held an entire universe of memories. One rainy evening after work, Lily sat alone beside the hospital window. The same window. She held Ethan's snow globe carefully in her hands. Outside, rain covered the city lights exactly like before. Then suddenly, she noticed a little boy outside jumping happily in puddles. Nearby, a couple shared one umbrella. And above them all, the gray sky stretched endlessly. Lily's breath caught painfully. The exact same things she described on Ethan's last day. Tears slowly filled her eyes. But this time, she smiled too. Because somewhere deep inside her heart, Ethan still existed. In rainstorms, in windows,